Tennessee Titans joint practice number 2 versus the Falcons. According to Buck Rising, better, but not good. I can't do it anymore. Let's talk about it next on Titan Upload. So the joint practice today was better. It was terrible yesterday versus the Falcons, but it was better today. But it still, according to Buck, wasn't good. There was one major play, definitely has got me fired up, and I want you to hear about it because it's a big deal and it deserves some attention. So let's get to it. What's the issue? Cam Ward made a similar play that he did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that we called here on the watch party when he was trying on the first drive to escape pressure, pushed out of the pocket. And what did he do? He threw it deep. He should have threw it out of bounds. We went over that. He didn't. It landed inbounds. Whew. But everything was okay because nobody picked it off. No harm, no foul. But then it happened again today. The only difference, it was picked off by the Falcons. So my question then, is this a Cam Ward issue or is this actually a much larger issue that needs to be asked? I'm beginning to think Brian Callahan is the problem. So if you go back to last year, Will Levis, awful. Do you remember how many dumb plays that he made? He made 2 dumb plays in the Bears game. One he got away with in the first half, and then came right back and did it in the second half, and it ended up as a pick 6. And it basically just ruined the entire season. Yeah, I said it. The entire season. It just poof. Then it happened again the next week against the Jets in the red zone. You remember that? And this happened multiple times during the season where you were left questioning, why did he throw that and who was he throwing it to? But then Mason Rudolph came in and I remember being excited about it. Saw him against the Bills, comes back against the Lions. Mason Rudolph is now making dumb plays like Will Levis made. And I'm asking myself, oh my gosh, how lucky did we get? Not only do we have Will Levis making dumb plays, now we have Mason Rudolph also making dumb plays. But I never quite figured out the Mason Rudolph one because Steeler fans told me how good he was and how he led them to the playoffs. And yes, he didn't really play a lot of games, but he did towards the end of the season and he was quite good. And he was the reason why they made it. Of course, I'm going to argue we were the reason why they made it because we beat the Jaguars in the last week of the season, but what do I know? But again, when it comes to Mason Rudolph, I think most of us would argue he was pretty bad last year. So good riddance, off he went. Who picked him up in the offseason? Who had him as a quarterback and didn't have anybody else for a time? Yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who let him go. Guys, if the Pittsburgh Steelers, which had Mason since he was drafted in the 3rd round for Oklahoma State, they're going to know Mason Rudolph way better than we know him. So if they had him for how many years, and then he ended up leaving in free agency to the Titans, and they're willing to bring him back, we may be the problem. Not the Steelers, not Mason Rudolph, it may be us. Will Levis got worse. I'm not saying like Will Levis was great during his rookie campaign, but he did show and flash some moments where Jeffrey Simmons was like, that's the dude. Pro Football Focus backs me up. Both players were better in 2023 than they were in 2024. According to Pro Football Focus, Will Levis was 9 points better overall in 2023 than he was in 2024. When you're talking about just passing in itself, it's the same, almost 7 points better in 2023 than it was in 2024. Mason Rudolph, not as big of a jump. It was only a couple points in both directions, but at the same time, it still was an improvement in 2023. So then here comes this year, Cam Ward. They kept Brian Callahan. There was rumblings that maybe he wasn't in the plans, but the rumblings were that like Amy decided, you know what, we're gonna keep him. We're going to keep Brian Callahan. We're going to let Rand go, but we're keeping Callahan and we're going to give it another go. And I get it. You know, Brian Callahan has had pretty good success being an offensive coordinator or an offensive assistant. But when it comes to head coach, that's what we're focused on. If you love Brian Callahan, I'm just stating facts at this point, so don't get on me too much. But if you do want to get on me, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you. And then this year, now Cam Ward, although he's been pretty good, I'm happy with Cam Ward. I was happy with his 5 of 8 for 67 yards and 5 of 6 on the last drive that we saw Cam Ward against the Bucs. I did point out, like, that is something he's probably going to fix. And Cam Ward's thrown a lot of picks in the offseason and preseason. I mean, I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not worried about it. It's part of the process, sure, for a rookie quarterback. Just let it fly, baby. See what you can get away with, see what you can't get away with it, and learn from it. And by all accounts, it seems like Cam Ward learns from stuff because he doesn't often make the same mistake twice, unless you're talking about the middle linebackers and Cody Barton and James Williams, where he kind of has issues in the middle of the field. But for the most part, Cam does a really good job of fixing the issue and moving on. I'm very happy with what I see in Cam Ward. I'm happy in the leadership. I love the accountability. And I love the fact that that picture was floated out after the day one of joint practice versus the Falcons, where he's leading the whole team, standing up when everyone's kneeling around him, listening to him like he's the coach. Love that about my starting quarterback. And to be honest, that's a big deal for being a rookie. And then now I got to bring up every quarterback that's played under Callahan with the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis, not good. Mason Rudolph, not good. Tim Boyle, train wreck. I don't even know why he was here. But isn't that part of the problem too? Like, how did he last so long? Why did you put up with him in off season? Why did you put up to this point in preseason? And then all of a sudden, yeah, we got to see him against the Bucs, and he was bad. I mean, there's no disrespect, but he was bad. And then you find out his stats leading into this, like 5 touchdowns and 13 interceptions in his career, and he hardly ever plays, and he's been in the league for how long? Like, how does that happen? And then there's Brandon Allen. Let's not discount this one. 4th and 2. Now there's rumblings around the press conference that Brian Callahan wasn't sure that he had the right play or the play that he liked. He had timeouts. He didn't use them in the red zone on a 4th and 2, and he lets the play go. How does it end? It ends in the back of the end zone. So Trevor Siemian, we'll see how that ends up. I mean, I'm not worried about my 3rd string quarterback, and I'm starting to get a little worried because Cam Ward, like I said, you might not find it a big deal, but when you make a mistake, literally not even a few days ago, and then you go out and do the same darn thing, but this time it cost you and you get picked off, I'm not blaming Cam Ward. No. I'm blaming Brian Callahan. Did Brian Callahan actually pull him aside and talk to him and say, hey, man, we can't be doing that? And I hope that he did. And I'm not in that room to know if he did or he didn't, but from all accounts. So we'll see what happens on Friday. One of the things I heard, I'm not happy about this either, is he's getting 2 series. If you're going to throw him out against Denver, and Calvin Ridley and him are perfect. Like, there's no complaints whatsoever, but it's everybody else we got to worry about. And again, we'll put Van Jefferson and Locke to the side. I want Cam Ward to have a very good connection with Io Manor and DK. You drafted them both in the 4th round to be productive for the Tennessee Titans, and I know it takes time, but if you're going to argue that picks are part of the process during preseason, how could you not argue for Cam Ward being out there with these guys and going through it in preseason game? I get it. Guy goes out and gets hurt, but you can't live that way. Your offensive line did a good job by protecting it. I just feel like preseason game number 2, he deserves more work. Cam probably wants more work. He wanted to go back in against the Bucs. They said no, it wasn't in the cards, and you're only going to guarantee him 2 series this week against the Atlanta Falcons. But maybe you want to see what Trevor Siemian can do. Maybe you want to see what Brandon Allen can do. Just give me some quarterback that I can be like, wow, like I'm seeing significant progress. And I'm not going to use Cam Ward just yet because he's a rookie. And he's, like he said it today, man, he's learning the rules of the new game in the NFL. So I'm patient with Cam, but I'm starting to get very impatient with Brian Callahan. So again, you want to defend him. You want to tell me it's not him, leave a comment and let me know. But give me some facts behind it. What has he done last year leading up to right now that you're like, wow, this is really good? So tighten up that like button and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, don't forget to tighten up.